The wind rolled over the open plains like a sigh from God himself, carrying dust and the scent of dry sage. The sun hung low above the horizon, bleeding gold across a sky that had known too many lonely sunsets. Out there, miles away from any town, a man rode hard through the dusk. His name was Cole McGraw, a rancher by trade, a father by a twist of fate that had left him broken and begging for help where none was to be found. He rode with one arm holding the reins, the other clutching a small bundle wrapped in a tattered quilt, a baby, barely 6 months old, crying weakly against his chest. Her face was flushed and hot, every sob rattled through his ribs. Sweat and tears had mixed on his cheeks until he couldn't tell which was which anymore. "Hold on, darlin'," he whispered over the wind, his voice rough as gravel. "Hold on for Pa." The baby's name was June. She'd been born on a spring morning when the cottonwoods were just turning green, and her mother, Cole's wife, Ellie, had smiled so bright it had made the stars jealous. But Ellie had died 2 weeks ago, taken by fever. Since then, the ranch had gone silent, the cattle restless, the nights endless. Cole had buried his wife under the big sycamore near the creek, marked her grave with a hand-carved cross, and sat there for hours after, holding the baby who wouldn't stop crying. At first, he thought it was grief, that June somehow felt the same emptiness he did. But then the crying grew sharper, desperate. She refused milk, refused rest, and her skin grew hotter each day. By the 4th night, Cole knew it wasn't sorrow. It was sickness, and he didn't know how to fix it. He'd never been good with people, never asked for help. But this was different. The thought of losing June like he'd lost Ellie hollowed him out. So he packed a canteen, a saddlebag, and a little milk he could scavenge, and set out for the nearest town, Dry Creek, 30 miles east through desert and badlands. The horse beneath him, Dusty, snorted and stumbled over the rocks as the sun dropped lower. Coyotes cried in the distance, a lonesome chorus. Cole kept his eyes forward, his jaw tight. Every mile stretched longer than the last. He stopped only once, under a dead cottonwood, to check on the baby. Her breathing was shallow, her skin damp with sweat. She whimpered when he tried to feed her. "Please, sweetheart," he murmured, rocking her gently. "You gotta take a little. Please." She turned her head, too weak even to cry. Cole felt something crack inside him. He looked out over the barren horizon and muttered a prayer he hadn't said since he was a boy. Not to any god in particular, just to the sky, to the wind, to whatever might be listening. "If you can hear me, help her. Take whatever you want from me. Just don't take her." The stars began to appear, faint and cold. He climbed back onto Dusty and kept riding. Hours passed. The moon rose full and pale, silvering the plains. He rode until Dusty's sides heaved and his own body screamed for rest. When he finally reached Dry Creek at dawn, his lips were cracked, his vision blurred. The town was quiet. One main street, a saloon, a blacksmith, a church, and a general store. Nothing stirred but a few chickens scratching in the dust. Cole dismounted and staggered toward the saloon, clutching the baby. "Anybody here?" he called hoarsely. A man appeared in the doorway, tall, thin, with a whiskey glass in hand. "You're early for a drink, friend," he said, blinking at the sight of Cole's bundle. "You look like hell. I need a doctor," Cole rasped. "My baby, she's burning up." The man frowned. "Ain't no doctor in town. Closest one's in Silver Bend, 30 miles north. You'll never make it on that horse. You'd best try the preacher's wife. She knows her way around sickness." Cole nodded, weak with relief. "Where?" "White House by the church," the man said, gesturing down the street. Cole barely remembered crossing the road. His boots dragged in the dust. He knocked once before pushing the door open. "Mrs. Harlow," he croaked. "Please, ma'am, I need help." A woman in her 50s turned from the stove, startled. Her hair was gray, her apron stained with flour. When she saw the baby, her face softened. "Good heavens, what happened?" "She's sick," Cole said. "Been crying near 4 days. Won't eat. Fever's bad. Mrs. Harlow took the baby gently, feeling her forehead, then her pulse. "Oh, you poor thing," she murmured. "She's burning up something fierce." She looked at Cole. "You did right bringing her here." She motioned for him to follow into a small back room. The house smelled of herbs and old wood. Cole stood by helplessly as Mrs. Harlow laid June on the bed and began mixing something in a bowl. "You said she won't take milk." Cole shook his head. "Ain't had more than a few drops since yesterday." Mrs. Harlow frowned. "Could be infection, or the heat, or grief. Babies feel it more than we think." She soaked a cloth and placed it on June's forehead. "I'll do what I can, but she needs cool water, rest, and prayers." "You too, mister." Cole sank into a chair, hands trembling. "I don't know how to pray anymore," he said quietly. Mrs. Harlow gave him a sad smile. "Then just sit beside her. That's prayer enough." He stayed by the bed all day, watching June's chest rise and fall. Sometimes it stopped long enough to freeze his heart, then started again. Mrs. Harlow fed her drops of herbal water, murmuring softly like a lullaby. The room grew dim as the day passed. Outside, thunder rumbled far off, a storm rolling over the plains. By evening, the baby stirred, whimpered weakly, and opened her eyes. For the first time in days, Cole saw a flicker of life. He exhaled shakily, covering his face. "Thank you, Lord," he whispered. Mrs. Harlow smiled tiredly. "Looks like she's turning a corner." But that night, the fever spiked again. Cole woke to June's cries, sharp and gasping. Mrs. Harlow rushed in with a lantern. "She's struggling," she said, panic breaking through her calm. "The fever's taken hold deep. We need medicine. Quinine or penicillin, but we've none left." Cole stood up, dizzy. "Where can I get it?" "Silver Bend," she said. "But it's over the ridge, 20 miles rough riding. You'd have to cross the canyon before dawn if you want to make it in time." Cole looked at the baby, her tiny body twisting in pain. He clenched his fists. "I'll go." Mrs. Harlow grabbed his arm. "You'll kill yourself on that road. Let the fever break." He shook his head. "I can't lose her too." He left before she could stop him. The rain had started, soft at first, then pounding. He mounted Dusty and rode out into the black storm. Lightning flashed, revealing the jagged path ahead. Wind howled through the canyon. Rocks slipped under Dusty's hooves. Cole didn't care. He rode blind, soaked to the bone, whispering the same words over and over. "Hold on, June. Hold on, sweetheart." Hours blurred. He reached Silver Bend at dawn, stumbling into the general store like a ghost. The storekeeper gasped at the sight of him. "You all right, mister?" "Medicine," Cole panted. "For fever, baby. Sick." The storekeeper nodded, rummaging through shelves. "I've got quinine. Not much left." He handed over a small bottle. "Take it. No charge." Cole managed a broken "thank you" before turning back toward the door. The rain had stopped, leaving steam rising off the earth. The sun crept over the horizon. He didn't even rest, just mounted and rode. By the time he returned to Dry Creek, the sky was burning with late morning light. He burst into Mrs. Harlow's house, dripping wet, holding the bottle like treasure. "Here," he gasped. "Give it to her." Mrs. Harlow's eyes widened. "You made it back alive. Lord be praised." She took the medicine and carefully fed drops to June. Then they waited. Minutes passed. The baby's breathing slowed. Her cries softened, then faded. Cole froze, staring, his pulse hammering. Mrs. Harlow leaned close, feeling for a heartbeat. "It's all right," she said finally, a small smile breaking through. "She's sleeping. The fever's breaking." Cole sank to his knees, shoulders shaking. He didn't know if he was crying or laughing or both. Mrs. Harlow put a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You did it, son. You saved her." For 2 days, Cole and June stayed in Dry Creek. Mrs. Harlow nursed the baby until her color returned, then packed them food and clean blankets for the road. Before he left, she looked him in the eye. "You're a good father, Cole McGraw. Don't forget that." "I ain't sure I know how to be one," he said. "You already are," she replied. "You went through hell for that little girl. That's all it takes." He thanked her and rode home. The land was green again after the rain, the creeks full. When he reached the ranch, everything looked different, brighter somehow. He stopped by Ellie's grave, holding June in his arms. The baby gurgled softly, her tiny fingers grabbing at his beard. He smiled through his tears. "Hey, sweetheart," he whispered. "You're gonna be all right. Mom'd be proud of you." He sat there a long time, the wind stirring the grass, the sky wide and endless above them. The world had taken nearly everything from him, but it had given him this, one small, living reason to keep going. The days that followed were quiet. Cole rebuilt fences, fixed the roof, and learned how to cook something other than beans. He talked to June as he worked, telling her stories about her mother, about the stars, about the land. She'd laugh sometimes, a sound so pure it cut through every ache in his heart. As she grew, she'd follow him around the ranch, barefoot, sunburned, wild-haired. She'd feed the chickens, chase the calves, and fall asleep against his chest when the day ended. And every night, Cole would whisper, "I'm here, June." Always. Years later, when she was old enough to ask, "Pa, where's Mama?" he'd tell her, "She's watching over us, darlin', from that hill by the creek. She's the reason we keep going." By then, the ranch was thriving again, cattle fat, fields full, sky wide as ever. But Cole never forgot those nights of riding through the storm with nothing but hope and a dying child in his arms. It haunted him and healed him both. He'd wake sometimes in the dark, hearing phantom cries, and then reach over to find June sleeping safe beside him. That was all the peace he needed. One evening, when June was 10, they rode out together to check the far pasture. The sky burned orange and red. Cole watched her handle the reins like she'd been born to it, her laughter echoing across the land. She looked so much like Ellie it almost hurt. He stopped by the ridge and looked out over the plains, the same view he'd seen that night long ago, endless, harsh, beautiful. June rode up beside him. "Pa," she said, squinting into the light, "you ever think about leaving this place?" He smiled faintly. "Every man thinks about it once or twice. But some places don't let go." She nodded. "Mama's here, ain't she?" "She is," he said softly. "And so's everything that ever mattered." They rode on in silence, the wind warm on their faces. The ranch stretched behind them like a memory, golden in the setting sun. That night, after June was asleep, Cole sat on the porch, whittling wood, listening to the crickets hum. The stars hung heavy overhead. He thought about how close he'd come to losing her, how close he'd come to giving up. But life, he realized, was just that. Holding on through the storm, hoping for dawn. He smiled to himself, whispering to the night, "We made it, Ellie. She's safe." The wind carried his words away across the prairie, soft as a prayer. And somewhere beyond the hills, a coyote cried, and the world went on turning, hard, beautiful, and alive.